Hello Year 10. So today's lesson is about hyperbola, and standard equation for hyperbola is y equals k over x. Of course, x cannot be 0. Why? Because we cannot divide it by 0. Okay, that's simple. Now let's have a look at the classical hyperbola, which is y equals 1 over x. Now, to sketch or to visualize hyperbola, we need to know the conditions. What will happen if x was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, or when x equals smaller and smaller and smaller. But when it gets bigger, there's two things. When it's a positive getting bigger or negative getting bigger. So we need to think about that. Now, easiest way, I believe, is just pick a number and then make a point. Okay, get a x coordinates and a y coordinates, and then plot them in, and that sort of helps you to visualize a graph. So if I pick 100, which is quite a big number, put it in here, 1 over x, I will get 0.01. If you're not 100% sure, of course you can use a calculator to find out what you will get. So 1 over 100th will give you y equals 0.01. So that's pretty much getting close to 0. Okay? And then what happens if I pick 0.01 for my x values? That's pretty much close to the 0. And of course, what will happen is it'll get 100. Okay? The y value will be 100. Okay, so that's just the positive side of it. And then we'll have to do negative. Okay? So in the graph-wise, I'm just going to look at the graph. I'm going to push this up a little. We haven't talked about the when x value gets negative. But first, let's think about positive first. So what happens, we are just looking at the first quadrant here because when x equals a positive here. So this here, I'm going to put positive infinity, and I'm going to go positive infinity here, and that's a 0 here. So in this case, where is this one? When x equals 100, y value is 0.01, something like that. And that will go a lot smaller with the y values when x gets bigger. Okay? And same thing happens when it was very small x values, it gets huge, bigger. And that the smaller the x values, the bigger the y values. Here, the bigger the x values, it'll be the smaller the y values. So this is what will happen, and I will go link it together, and that's one of my branches. And then it doesn't cross x-axis and y-axis because it cannot be 0. Okay, so it's curved. Now that's the one of the two branches of hyperbola. Now what happens now, we move this a little bit up, and when x it goes towards negative infinity, so it gets, I don't know, minus 100. Okay, what will happen to my y value? So I'll go minus 100. And obviously it will get minus 0.01. So I will go towards minus 0. Okay? And then when x goes towards minus 0, my y value will go towards, what happens? Negative infinity. So for example, I picked negative 0.01. I'll get negative 100. Okay, let me see if I can push it up, and then you can see it a little bit better. Okay, that's better. And then I'm going to go up here. I'm going to show you on the graph there. So when x is minus infinity, which I've just picked the minus 100, so I'm going to put minus infinity here, minus infinity here. So when it's up here somewhere, and I'll get minus 0.01, it's up to here. So the bigger the x value, smaller the y, it still applies. And this one, when x value is close to the minus 0, which is up here, close to there, and then it gets down further, gets bigger. So I'm going to do that. And of course, I'm going to join it and then make sure it's a curved. Okay, so overall, our y equals 1 over x hyperbola will look like this.